painted something else, he wouldn't have won the prize. But he won it because that's what everyone wanted. So when we look at it again, we have something that is told to us that we should remember, and something that is real in its actual context. Maybe Luna really meant it as the colonial condition, but this is the story of the painting. It's just a dead gladiator being thrown out. His weapons and his armor are being taken off so that they'll be given to the next gladiator. So where is Filipinas there? She's not. They even have, if you look somewhere here, there's supposed to be a woman with her hair in a bun, which is supposed to be a Filipina, as if we're the only ones who wear hair in a bun. You know, so may nakapusod daw na babae dito. So anyway, it's one of Luna's clues. But the spoliarium has served us long enough, and people want to see what they want to see. For example, so you see this, two men being dragged off. In 1983, we had two men on a tarmac, Ninoy Aquino and his supposed assassin. And I'm sorry I don't have the picture of it, but there's actually a photograph of Ninoy in white being pulled up into the van that looks almost exactly like the spoliarium. So people were saying Luna was even prophetic. He could tell the assassination of Ninoy Aquino. So, what happens here is you see what you want to see. And I think that is the magic of museums. Their theme this year is to see connections. And I always tell my students that the world has become a lesser place because we do not appreciate useless information. Unfortunately, some people amass a lot of information and they just keep it in their head. But the true magic is actually when you get the useless information and you weave them together. And you find a story, or you find something that connects you with the past, or makes something relevant. Ambeth Ocampo has a lot of useless information. But the point there is the reason, the real magic there, is finding connections. And museums are one of the ways in which, in one of the places in which you will find connections. This is, well, it still is my favorite museum. They have moved already. This is the old Lopez Memorial Museum in a small side street in Pasay, behind the Hyatt Hotel. You have to not really make an appointment. You went there, rang the bell, and then they let you in. There was nobody there. And it's in the back of Rojas Boulevard, not in an area you will actually walk into. It's a small street, residential street, and they have this thing. So when you go in, this is what it looked like, not very well curated. They had the paintings all over. One floor was just paintings of Luna, another floor was just paintings of Felix Resurrection Hidalgo. I would go, I was the only person there, and the only reason why I kept going back was because the staff were nice. The staff would make you feel at home, the staff gave you what you wanted, sometimes they would feed me. And so when you went in, it helps a lot that your first experience with the museum is a happy one. And so I would go, and even if I was not really researching something, it's just that I would go and I would look again and again and again until things made sense. And because of that, I learned to look at Lunas and Hidalgos in a more professional way. So this is what it looked like. You know? They didn't even have visitors. These are the staff pretending to be visitors. So anyway, so what are the things that we found there? This is Mr. Lopez, favorite paintings, Espana and Filipinas, and because the staff was nice. This is a painting of Luna's. Well, it's Luna's wife, you know, and they call it Ensueños de Amor, meaning dreams of love, you know, and it shows his wife in bed. Luna, like, he painted many scenes of the bed, sometimes the bed with the wife, sometimes the bed that's empty. But what's interesting is because you know the staff, one lady said, we'll show you something nice. And I said, what is it? So they took the painting off the wall, which they never do now. And they took the painting off the wall and they showed the back. So in Luna's paintings, sometimes he would paint two two paintings on the back. This is not really finished, but it's signed. So in the backs of some of the paintings, you would see something else, which you would not normally see if the staff did not show it to you. So it was this sense of discovery. This painting was given to Neano Pin's grandfather, Alfonso Pin. This was also one of my favorite paintings because it's unfinished. The Luna signature that we see, LVNA, normally Luna didn't sign, but he didn't sign many of his paintings. It's like a check. If you don't sign it, it's not, isn't worth much. So he died and many things were unsigned. And the guy who was authorized to sign was Alfonso Opin, who was an art dealer. And the family gave him this painting, and what's nice about it is that although it is unfinished, you can see how he works, what he does, what he puts in first, how he mixes colors. And here you see that the brother of Luna, Jose Luna, gave this to their friend Alfonso Opin. So because of this, you would see things that made you understand the artist even more. This was one of my favorite paintings in the Lopez Museum. It was sold when they needed money. So it's not there anymore. So it is Luna's sister, Nena, and his niece, Tinita. And it's just a painting of his relatives. And if you know the story, that Lopez has some of the relatives' pictures. Before he died, I think he knew one who was going to die. He just lined them up and painted all of them in something like 3 weeks. You know? So we see souvenirs of what he did. So what happens here is that museums become spaces of memory, spaces of history. And for me, what is important is that the museums tell us a story. And when we talk of story, this is what is important. History comes from the word historie, which does not really mean history as we know it today. It means an inquiry. It means knowledge from inquiry. So it is asking questions. Museums should give us questions. History should generate more questions than answers. But unfortunately in school, you need to give the answers to pass the test. But again, here we talk about history in Kasaysayan. History comes from the root word Historya, which means a narrative. That's fairly obvious. In the University of the Philippines, we were taught to use the word Kasaysayan, or history, because they said it was a richer, fuller, more encompassing word than history was, because Historya was a Western word. So let's use a Philippine word. Funny part is that Kasaysayan, when I looked it up in the old dictionary, early dictionaries, 1794, and then it says, Historya is salita. Salita today is a word. Magaling na salita, buena historia. Anong salitang dala mo? What word are you bringing? Or what story are you bringing? So I said, it's different. And then in an 1864, 1832 dictionary, you see again, salita, historia. Manalita, to tell a story. So it's not history. Then I found 1860. This is the most interesting. Then you see all sorts of things. Hippo, no? But anyway, hypocrita. No? Anyway, you see here, Historia is still salita. And then it says Historieta, which means Monting salitang walang kasaysayan. A small word that has no meaning. And when you look at it, kasaysayan there doesn't mean history. It actually means sense. It means meaning. And therefore, so when we look at it, kasaysayan as history developed over time. And so when we see it, kasaysayan is both a story, a narrative of the past, but it is a story that gives us meaning. And that, I think, is what makes any trip to a museum or any study of history important. To just have the story is just to have who, what, when, where, how. But the why, the thing that makes it important, is the sense or the meaning. So when we look at Kasaysayan or Salaysay, So it has the two root words, which means salaysay, meaning a narrative, and it also means saysay, or meaning. So how do we bring people into museums? In the interview with GMA7, I told them a museum will be happy to have 200,000 visitors a year. 200,000 is what Mega Mall will make on a bad day. When you think about it, it gives us a sense of proportion. I've always been wondering too, how come our museums have free days? If people are not breaking down doors to get in, how come they don't want to go? But they'll go to a mall anytime without any prodding. What is in a mall that isn't in a museum? Pareho rin naman, may stante, there are display pieces, it's air conditioned. How come they don't want to go? And I like to think maybe it starts from young people. It starts from the way in which you were brought to a museum. These kids here, nakakatawa, it's not the same experience many of our kids get when they get to a museum. So I think it is one of the things that we have to change. The second thing is that the museum has developed in the 21st century. Museums are not the same as they used to be. We have aircon, we have lights, and we have digital collections. In many places, you cannot take pictures. But again, now we start to wonder, why can't I take pictures if you can get things on the net? So the point there is what makes the experience more important. The British Library, for example, has uploaded recently, it's small, 1,200 literary treasures. Look at the National Library of the Philippines. Try to get something from the National Library of the Philippines. It's very difficult. They are scared of copyright, they don't want to give you anything. But I'm saying it is the mandate of a library or a museum to make things available. And the internet is one of the ways in which they should do it. Social media is one of the things too. Museums have a hard time promoting themselves. But if they ask people to take selfies inside, then they get free advertising. But the problem there is that you have people crowding and taking pictures all the time. And sometimes you have to remind them, sometimes you look first before you take the pictures. So again, it's hit or miss. We have visible storage. Instead of putting them in a bodega, put them out for people to see. But this is basically things that maybe the association will talk about, education programs that talk about history and meaning. But more importantly, to remember that the museum should always be a place of memory. And more importantly, a place of curiosity, a place of discovery. I would end basically by talking about Rizal again and how my visit to Fort Santiago changed the way in which I look at things. Fort Santiago is the most boring historical museum that we have. Fortunately, it was under my office. But the reason why you go there is because you see Rizal's things. You see Rizal's coat. You see Rizal's underwear. You will actually see the only piece of Rizal that is not buried under the monument. It's a piece of his backbone. It's displayed. Actually, I feel bad. I think one day we should really put it where the other